So here's the scenario. You and your husband or you and your wife, through some modern day miracle, managed to get a couple hours away from your sweet, adorable, and always obedient, loving children. So since you've managed to scrounge about a couple hours to enjoy each other's company, it's pretty obvious what you're going to spend them couple hours doing.
General, there's an army blockade ahead. Fire the cannon! The enemy has been destroyed. Onward, march!
And besides that, obviously, you're going to go out and enjoy a peaceful, tranquilic ride through the wilderness. Now, in my wife and I's case, we like to kind of forge new paths and discover unexplored areas. So a lot of times we get off the beaten path, and this happens. Whoa!
What?
There's the big log blocking the path.
Really?
Yeah. Probably gonna have to turn around. I don't see any way around. There's logs all over the place.
I'm driving. You just sit there in the passenger seat and let me drive.
Whatever. As I was saying, this happens.
Well, I don't think we're going to get over this one.
I wasn't going to say anything. Now, obviously, you can turn around and head back, but your ride has just begun. You got lots of time left to explore, so obviously turning back is not an option. What do? Now, obviously, you got several choices. First and obvious is, you carry a little hatchet with you. Nice thing about a hatchet is it's small, it's lightweight, it's portable. However, aside from little saplings, you try to cut a big log that's blocking your path down with one of these, and you're going to be there a while.
Much later.
So, extremely portable, handy to throw it with you wherever you ride, yes. Extremely useful and convenient, not really. Now, another option you may have, especially if you live on an old farm like me, is you may run across some kind of old saw like this behemoth right here. Now, this thing has massive teeth, and I'm sure it would cut a lot faster than a hatchet.
Many hours later.
However, this isn't really convenient to carry in a side-by-side or ATV, and it's probably actually quite dangerous unless you strap her down pretty good. Now, I'm sure at this point, a lot of you screaming at your screen saying, "Don't be a moron, why do you have all these hand tools when today there are so many different kinds of chainsaws out there?" And I would agree that a chainsaw is probably the perfect tool to carry with you for removing down logs on your trails, especially since they come in all shapes and sizes and you really don't need a big, huge barred lumberjack chainsaw. All you really need to carry with you is a little smaller chainsaw. However, there is a thing with chainsaws. They take gas, mixed gas a lot of times because they're two-strokes, so you gotta always have a separate jug handy with mixed gas to run in. That gas, even though the lid's sealed pretty good, I've always had a tendency to have it leak out in my machines and stink up the place. The biggest drawback with a gas-powered chainsaw is the fact that they are extremely noisy. So unless you want to have permanent hearing damage, if you got to use one, you got to carry earplugs or earmuffs with you to run one. And when you're out in the woods enjoying a nice trail ride, you don't want to be making a whole bunch of noise and scaring all the wildlife that you might be able to see. But there is a solution, and obviously it is a battery-powered chainsaw. Now this little chainsaw I have for you guys here today is a Sthil model 120C. It is, I think, Sthil's smallest battery-powered chainsaw. The nice thing about these is they're small, they're portable, they're pretty lightweight. They're definitely lighter than a gas-powered chainsaw of equal size. And the biggest advantage to a guy like this is they are nice and quiet. At least compared to a gas-powered chainsaw. And this little battery-powered still does come with all your features your big gas-powered chainsaws does. Obviously, I have a chain and bar guard. It still has the safety bar here for if you have kick back and hit it, it'll kill it, keep it from running. The battery is removable. It just pops out here for charging. This is a 36 volt, 108 watt per hour battery. And here's where all your weight is, because I think this battery alone is heavier than the whole chainsaw. It has an easy chain adjuster here, which makes it super nice when she gets a little loose to tighten it up just by rolling this little wheel here. And even though this doesn't take gas, it does still require bar chain oil, so you do still have to keep that topped off. But that's not a big deal. It has a little sight window here where you guys can see where your level is. And I've actually, as you guys can see by the looks of this, I've been using it quite a bit. And I have not leaked any bar chain oil, and it doesn't actually slop up this at all. So you don't have to worry about, you can see in there, it's still pretty clean. So you don't have to worry about getting bar chain oil all over the place.
Now the nice thing about a chainsaw this size that's small enough to throw in the back of an R-Max, or even if you have a sportier machine, it'll still fit in the bed. Or if not in the bed, you can easily throw it on the floor, and it's small enough there's plenty of room to do so. Now I will say that although I've wanted one of these for a long time, I was a little hesitant because I had no idea how well they were going to cut. You think battery-powered electric, it's not going to cut near as well as a gas-powered machine. But as I'm going to show you here over the next several minutes, this little Sthil, even though it's their smallest one, it is very impressive and does very, very well. Even despite my very unimpressive lumberjack skills here.
Jump on it.
Now the one big drawback to using a battery-powered chainsaw like this, especially one this small, you don't have the torque a gas-powered chainsaw does. And so on something big and thick like this guy, or especially if it's a hardwood, you might not be able to cut through it. But we'll give her a shot here. So it cut through it fine. I guess the trick is a regular chainsaw, you can usually apply a little downward pressure to help cut through a little faster. With a little guy like this, you're just gonna have to let the weight of the chainsaw and the chain do its work and just let it cut naturally and not try to force it through the wood. But it got the job done, and that's a pretty thick log. That is pretty much almost as thick as the bar itself.
You want to try to do the butt end?
Give her a shot. We'll see if we can get through this big wide guy here. We'll test the limits. Now this guy is thicker than the bar. So, are we going to be able to get her?
A little further up?
That's actually quite impressive. It's gotten right through it actually without a whole lot of struggle.
There it is.
I think we're through.
Yep.
So, plenty of power to cut that big guy. You just got to kind of work it from both angles, and just like I said, take your time. Don't try to force the little saw through. But being that it cut through that with relative ease, I would say that it's safe to say This would pretty much tackle any down tree you might come across on the trail.
And having a little battery chainsaw like this not only benefits if you have a down tree blocking your path, but as far as just trail maintenance and pruning, clearing like this really thorny, I don't even know if you call it a tree, but I mean it had massive thorns on it. But for clearing things like this out of your path or from the side of your path so you're not driving by and it's smacking you, this little battery powered chainsaw absolutely excels at that. And that's probably going to be its main purpose, just the trail maintenance saw, where I use it to just trim branches and limbs out away from the main trails I'm riding on.
Precision drop.
Awesome.
I guess another major downside I didn't think of till just now is for Halloween, that just doesn't have quite the intimidation factor as a actual gas-powered chainsaw. Please come back! So I'm sure one of the biggest questions that's on everybody's mind with an electric chainsaw is how long does the battery last? Well, let's look at it not in terms of how long, but how many cuts. I have a freshly charged battery here. I've got some down logs here. We're going to use one of these ones that are about as wide as 2/3 of the length of our blade. And we'll just go ahead and see how many cuts we get out of a fully charged battery. Alright, so we're getting down to the end of it. As you can see, the light will begin to flash when you're just about dead. So we probably only got a couple more cuts left in her. We'll see how many more we can get. Kind of neat. I don't know if you guys could hear that on the camera, but this went into like a low power mode. So I think that's pretty much it there. That's kind of how many cuts we actually got. All right, so here is our pile. I do have some broken ones here, but I threw the other halves over there, so we didn't count them twice for only being one cut. So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, and 41. So as you guys saw there, most of these were pretty close to the same thickness. We got a little thicker here towards the one end, obviously. But we got 41 cuts out of one battery charged. Now obviously guys, keep in mind that your battery life will differ depending on the kind of tree you're cutting, whether it's softwood or hardwood, the thickness of what you're cutting, as well as how much of a bind you're putting a saw blade in, because if you're putting a lot of force and you're binding your blade, that's obviously gonna run the battery down a lot faster. But I would say 41 cuts for a little trail saw to throw in the buggy for just clearing down trees on your path, I think more than enough. So this little Sthil is definitely a little handy chainsaw that's great for throwing in the back of your side-by-side or on your ATV for trimming your trails, cutting down trees on your trails. It works great for that. Now there is one more downside I got to mention about these, and that is the cost. This little guy with this little 12-inch bar is going to cost you right around 300 bucks. And I can guarantee that probably 90% of that is just for this battery right here. So if you ever have to replace a battery in one of these, I can imagine you're going to pay about as much as you will for the whole chainsaw itself. So to compare it to a gas-powered chainsaw, you can get a gas-powered chainsaw for a little cheaper than what you can get one of these. But personal choice for me, I think this is a much better guy to carry with you, and it's worth the extra cost. Again, this is the smallest one. They make a 220 with a 16-inch bar as I believe the biggest you can get. So they do make a couple different sizes here. I think there's also a 180, a couple different sizes that you can get to suit your needs and whatever you like best. But this being the smallest, I think is the handiest to carry with you when riding. There are cheaper brands out there, but again, they don't carry the good Sthil name like this guy, so I see this one as being a dependable one that's going to last quite a while. So is a battery-powered chainsaw a superior alternative to a gas-powered one? Yeah, that's all going to depend on your personal preference. For raw cut and power, I don't think this is going to beat a gas-powered one, but for convenience, for weight, for ease of use, and especially for quietness, a little battery-powered chainsaw is going to be hard to beat in the woods. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this little Sthil review. I hope it's a help to you if you're considering buying one of these. And overall, I'd say I'm definitely impressed. So do you carry a battery-powered chainsaw with you when you go riding? If so, let me know what brand and how you like it in the comments below. And now with this little guy, even if I do come across a downed tree blocking my path, I can cut her out of the way and keep on riding.